you a dark dreamer? It is said that to best enjoy the light, you must first explore the heart and soul of the darkness. We are the artists who create in the shadows, whose dreams are designed to become your reality. I'm Stanley Wiater. Welcome to my world of the dark fantastic. Welcome to the world of dark dreamers. Are you a dark dreamer? Gahan Wilson most clearly is. And just who is Gahan Wilson? Simply stated, he is the greatest macabre cartoonist in the world. Anyone who is a longtime reader of The New Yorker, Paris Match, and of course, Playboy, will already be familiar with his uniquely rendered cartoons. His work has been collected in several acclaimed volumes, including Nuts, Is Nothing Sacred, Gahan Wilson's America, and Gahan Wilson's Still Weird. Wilson is also an accomplished short story writer and novelist, as well as the author and illustrator of several books for children. Gahan recently invited us to his studio in New York, where he demonstrated for us just how he brings his dark, and often hilarious, dreams to life. Gahan, does the darkness hold a special attraction for you?
In the circus, I would prefer, I loved the freak show, and I would drag my father to it, and he would hate it. And I remember holding his hand, and he'd be sort of grousing away and going and seeing these wonderful people. And they all struck me as being extraordinarily brave. And there they were, saddled with some odd thing. And they would turn it around and make it into something they were making money out of and got attention from and got some celebrity with. And they'd have these little books and pamphlets which they'd hawk, and it was very gutsy, and I liked them. I liked their spirit.
When someone calls you a dark dreamer, what does that term mean to you?
Anything that was odd, I liked. I loved Halloween, and that was quite joyous. I remember being very happy at Halloween because everybody was into this strange thing and having a swell time with it. There's a sort of I noticed a depth to it which touched me. There's it was going after something dangerous, but full of possibility.
Did you ever take a perverse pleasure in that you perhaps were the neighborhood's weird little kid?
And I was definitely a little weird kid. There's a definite element of not being happy about it. I think that there's sort of a sadness there too. You don't get into that sort of frame of mind for nothing, and I think it has a lot to do with the humor too. I remember S.J. Perelman said that an unhappy childhood is an absolute must for a humorist. You have to perceive the dark. One of the things, I'm a child of the Midwest, brought up in Evanston, Illinois, and very sweet people there. And but they have this compulsive thing of denying the dark. And they will say, if it's a particularly rotten day, they'll say, it's a nice day, isn't it a nice day? Or sometimes if somebody treats them like shit, they'll say, isn't he a nice man, after he's left? And you want to swat them, why are you talking that way? So there's this attempt always to look on the bright side. And the result is, I don't think it's a good way to be, because you miss out on, you can't possibly see anything if you're in denial about it. There's the absolute dreadful aspects of it. I mean, I remember the first cartoon I ever sold was I sold to Ziff Davis magazine. One of their, I don't know, it was amazing stories or fantastic stories, or which one it was. And I got $7.50 for it. And what it showed was a little kid and his father, and they're walking in this sort of a snowstorm thing, and the kid is all bundled up, and he's holding his father's hand, and they're trudging through the drifts. And in the foreground, lying on its back with its claws up, is a dead bird. And a little beak is open, like its tongue is stiff and frozen. And the kid's all excited, and he tugs at his father, pointing at this dead bird, and he says, "Look, Daddy, look, the first robin." And this was the thing there was if you just look at robins when it's spring and summer, and they're going tweet tweet, and they're flying around, pulling up worms and having a swell time. If that's all you see about robins, you're not seeing robins. You don't understand robins. These robins had to fly up for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles through all kinds of ghastly weather, and some of them don't make it, and it's a tough life being a robin. You gotta see if you don't see the dark, you don't see the light.
Weren't you medically declared dead, or weren't you born dead?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know if that. Yes, I was. I did. What they gave my mother some thing called twilight sleep, and that apparently I dug twilight sleep, and I just went into a thing, and I came out unbreathing and blue, and getting bluer. And the old family doctor was looking through apparently this porthole door, and the doctor, who was the gynecologist, was screwing up. He was just sort of, "That's too bad," sort of thing. Yeah. So he came bursting into the operating room, and he grabbed me up, and he started shouting orders, and he whacked me, and he dunked me in hot water, and he dunked me in cold water, and got me going. And that was, so he saved my life. I mean, that would have been the end of the story.
Gahan, where do you go to get your ideas?
To try to discover something that's funny in this world, Stan, I can't tell you how tough it is. I have to listen to at least the first half minute of any news broadcast before something really absurd comes into view. And newspapers, I have to at least look at the first page, and it's there it is in the headlines usually. No, it's just there's no end to it. I mean, this is a very funny place. I've like ecology, and I've always I think that's one of the ultimate jokes is our destruction of the planet. It is hilarious. I mean, it's just so nutsy that I can't understand. I mean, why are they doing it? But we are just sort of blithely wrecking the place. I did a cartoon for Playboy, and it shows a suburban living room, and there's this picture window, and in the room itself, cowering behind the furniture, is this man and his wife, and outside we see wild animals, tigers and whatnot, prowling the lawn, and a boa constrictors climbing the tree, and the door with the three little windows in the diagonal, there's a grizzly bear clawing away at it, and the man says, So I knew this would happen if those goddamned ecologists had their way. And so I thought, well, that's a blow for, the God, this is going to
see that. They'll see the
that
light.
senator, and he's going to take it to the president for sure this time. I just know it. And then I would visit my parents every Christmas, and my father, who is quite a bit to the right of Nixon, he took me aside. He had a sort of strange air of sort of, I don't know, kind of affection about him, very unlike him. And he took me aside and he said, I just wanted to say that I saw that cartoon you did about the, those people looking out of the window at the animals, and I'm just so glad you've come around to my point of view. And I knew right then that was, forget it. I keep doing the cartoons, but I know that it's not going to do any good.
Sitting here in your wonderful office, we see a lot of great toys. What's the significance of having all these toys surrounding your work?
Well, I remember Bradbury, and he's got a clutter of stuff like that, and he told me that it's gives him it's sort of like it kicks him off, it feeds him, and that's part of why I do it. I just like to have them around, but I also they did their help. I mean, it's all of a sudden this will suddenly give you a nudge.
Yeah. I mean, if you need an inspiration, then you see that jar full of eyeballs, and you
Jar full of eyeballs has helped a lot of times.
It's like Robert Bloch always would say about having the heart of a little boy.
Yes.
And it's right over there on my desk.
Yes, in a jar.
In a jar. And
Yeah.
How can you help be inspired?
Yeah. It's so typical of him. So, that tender little image, that delicacy of it.
But in terms of a work day, I mean, how do you sit there and create? We know you're a writer, you're a novelist, but the idea of sitting there and creating something out of nothing to a cartoon, it's a 9-to-5 job?
What I do is I find that I work best in the early morning. I get up and without as little ado as possible, get to work, so that I'm still in this kind of floating state, and it's the fish surface a little easier then, and it gets me off to a running start, and then I go on usually until about 4 o'clock, at which point I go out and go to the mail and all the rest of that stuff. So I put in a full day's work. It's a little routine.
Does exploring the darkness hold some special attraction for you?
I did not decide, these going back to your very beginning questions, I did not decide to become interested in the dark side. I was stuck with it. I mean, it was just, I did not decide to have this sort of nose or this kind of ear, this kind of eye. It just is there it is. And that's it. There's very little I had to do with it.
Gahan, why do you choose to write and illustrate children's books?
Matisse had a thing he said, which was that the most important thing an artist must do is not to kill the child. The child must be allowed to continue to live. But that, of course, you have to grow up and you have to be mature. It's not childish is ridiculous. That's pathetic and also very dangerous. And but keeping that child alive is vital, and somehow integrating it with the grown-up. That Matisse was right.
But the idea of when someone comes to you and says, "Mr. Wilson, I love your work.
Yeah.
I'd like to either be a cartoonist or a short story writer."
I try to discourage them.
Why is that?
Because if I can discourage them, they've got no business doing it. basically. Although I'm doing a kindly way. It's really, you have to be mad in the arts. I mean, you have to be some sort of lunatic who is convinced that you will succeed, and the arrogance of it's just mind-boggling. But that you got to have that attitude. That's the only possible attitude you can have. You just have to march through.
Also, you have to be lucky. We've discussed
Oh
that.
yeah.
We forget this little thing called the luck
My
factor.
God, luck is luck is enormous. No, the marvelous talents they weren't lucky, and luck is tremendous. Yeah.
After the centerfold, your cartoons are the second most looked at image in Playboy magazine.
Wow.
Why do you think that is?
I can't imagine, Stanley. I don't know.
You've been with them since the late 50s?
Oh yeah. I was a very early arrival. It was a complete fluke. I was going to go to Chicago to see my parents. They were in a Christmas visit, and I made an appointment. And I went to the receptionist, and I said, "Hello, I'm Gahan Wilson, and I've come to see people at Trump magazine." Made an appointment. And they said, "The offices of Trump magazine are in New York City." And I sort of didn't, I thought, well, I've made some pretty stupid moves, but this is really probably the stupidest. So I was sort of kind of Jimmy Stewarting my way out of the place. And this guy came out of a door and said, "I'm Art Paul, Hef's waiting to see you." And I opened the door, and there was this dark room, lit only by one lamp, which there was a guy, a thin man, on the telephone, and he looked up at me and he waved me to a chair. And it was Hefner. And he said to the person on the phone, he said, "Well, we read your article, and we think it's a good article, and it's well written. It's to the point, but problem is it's anti-sin, and we're pro-sin." And he hung up, and he stood, and he reached over, and he took my hand. He said, "I've been waiting for you," and that was it. That's how we got started. And it's been a ride. It's been great.
Gahan, are you happy with the way your career has turned out?
Oh, I think I've been extraordinarily lucky. I just I can't believe that this peculiar vision caught on the way it did. I think it's been astounding. I mean, Christ, people come up and they just are, they say all these nice things, and they're total strangers, and then they're just as dear as they can be, and I'm amazed at it's heartwarming and wonderful. No, I really, frankly, I'm astonished that I haven't been killed by a mob or something. It's it's been swell. I mean, thank you, Cosmos. It's really been, it's fantastic, and so on, et cetera.
Et cetera.
Yeah.
So there's no idea of retirement for you?
Oh, Christ, no, I know retirement. I cannot imagine why anybody, the notion of retirement to me is appalling. I can't, what are they talking about?
How do we going to find on the last day? How are we going to find Gahan Wilson?
Well, he's got. I hope I'll still be plugging away. The notion of planning from youth to retire has always horrified me. And what I've seen of people in retirement has confirmed my darkest suspicions. I mean, it's I don't get it. I don't understand why anybody wants to stop. I mean, what is the deal? I mean, you know, like kill yourself. Fine, I can understand that. Suicide has always made a great deal of sense to me. And if things work out in an unfortunate fashion, I shall do it. But retire? I'm sorry, no. No, that's sort of a zombie thing. I just don't get it.
But there's a lot of happiness in your life, and I remember we had a talk a long time ago, and you brought Boris Karloff into the conversation about how wonderful life is. But there was. Do you recall that conversation about Boris Karloff?
Oh yeah, there's always a little darkness in the corners. In the sunniest day, there's always a little darkness in the corners. Yeah, but that's again, we were talking earlier about to appreciate what is this fabulous existence that we're in, part of, is if you must understand the awfulness. I mean, this is somebody who is wonderful because they're going to die someday, and they won't be there anymore, and they weren't there before. They were, and they're unique and entire. They will never be anybody like you or me or any of these people holding booms and working the cameras. I mean, will never happen again. So, you know, it's really, you don't. It's the Robin. I mean, if you don't understand that all of this horrible stuff is around, you don't understand that all of the lovely and sweet stuff is around, because the lovely sweet stuff is sweeter because the one you love is going to die, or you're going to die and they won't have you. I mean, that's what's so darling about it.
Join me here again on the wild side of the imagination, where a sense of wonder and a feeling of terror can often intersect. You'll find us waiting here, the Dark Dreamers.